guys, and welcome back to my video, my channel, and my video, I guess. I don't know what my channel's about, but I am here for it. Sorry, I'm trying to rescue a ladybug. Trying to rescue a ladybug while I'm talking to you guys.
Whoa.
I love ladybugs. Whoa, right, Ram? I love ladybugs in our garden. They are some pretty crazy predators, and they'll eat all of the slow-moving bugs in your garden. But anywho, I thought while I was harvesting carrots, nobody wants just a boring garden tour, which is what I gave you guys in my first video, and I was like, I'm gonna open up my camera and do a second video, because everybody's always asking about when I say that I grew up in a cult. So I thought that I would do a little explanation of that. So everybody's always wondering, does your being a sociopath have anything to do with your upbringing?
Yeah.
And I'm harvesting carrots.
Yeah.
Yeah, while I'm doing this. I don't know if you guys can see my basket of carrots so far. And I'm almost done, so this video won't be super long. Thanks, bud. I got it. Thank you. All done. All done. So I grew up, I would say pretty sheltered. I mean, I grew up, please leave it, bud. I grew up in the, 80s and 90s, before the age of cell phones, before the age of the internet, really, before, definitely Facebook, definitely before Twitter and all of that. And so it was just a different time back then. There was no way to get a hold of your parents if you were running late. There was no way to get to your parents if you were running late. It was just very different back then. So I was very sheltered. We weren't really allowed to listen to music other than country music or Christian music. I remember as a child, just very sheltered. We spent a lot of time with family. I don't remember having a lot of play dates unless it was neighborhood kids. You see that ladybug? You want to hold it? Okay. Oh, you flipped upside down. There you go. We want to be nice to him, okay? And everything was just way different back in the 80s.
Wow.
Things were just different. So I pretty much got tired of it. I was very bored. I was a very inquisitive child, I guess. I got bored, and I got introduced to, the bad kids. I hung out with the bad kids at school. The troublemakers, even though we didn't get into any trouble at all. We were just perceived to be as troublemakers, even though we weren't. Yeah, you can go see the Rim, please don't touch it. You can go see the rabbits if you want, Rim.
No.
Oh, why don't you take some carrots to the rabbits?
Yeah.
Yeah. Take these. They'll fit through the bars. Don't open the doors. Just put them through the bars. No, do not open the doors, please, to the rabbit cage. Do not open the doors.
Whoa.
And I just got bored with it. And so I found marijuana at a really young age. I want to say the first time I smoked marijuana, I was probably 13. And I think that was pretty common where I grew up. I mean, a lot of the other kids were doing it. So I assumed it was common. I was just bored. There was nothing to do in school, etc. So anyways, there was this place that my parents found where you could volunteer at. Which basically volunteer means work for free. But you also got rewards. You got to ride horses. You volunteered with kids with disabilities, and you got to help them out, and you helped them ride horses and things like that. And it was really rewarding. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about disabilities, which, as you can tell, my son has a disability. So it helped out later in life, and I learned how to ride horses really well. I learned how to train horses and ride horses, which is something that I wanted. I was, 13 or 14 or so, and what 13 or 14-year-old girl doesn't want to ride horses? So I did that. Well, it turns out this place was pretty cult. Culty. Is that a word? I'm gonna make it a word. It's very culty. You spent the night on Friday nights. You basically became friends with everybody that was there. You ended up, after a while, just not hanging out with anybody but who volunteered there. You did camps in the summer, like week-long camps where you stayed there. And the woman that ran the place, she didn't have kids of her own. Like, some people stayed in her house and some people stayed in a different area. And then you spent the night, and then you woke up on Saturday and worked all day with the horses. So it all seemed fine and dandy. You know, I was young. Everything was going great. What's the big deal? Well, then I end up moving. My parents moved me about 5 hours away. And that's whenever I really start turning into a bad kid. I start running away. I'm heavily doing drugs. I can talk about all the drugs later. Back in the 90s, the most popular drug was acid. Aggie! Otherwise known as LSD. I don't even think they have LSD anymore. I think like Molly and MDMA replaced it. Aggie, do you want to come in? Give me a sec. Come here. But I think Molly and MDMA replaced acid. But anyways, those were the drugs back in the day, and I really got into it. Like, really got into it. Some of these are pokey, Ivy. And so my parents, I got arrested several times. Mostly on runaway charges. Sometimes on, like, things that I didn't actually do. But I was, like, associated with who did it, you know? Like, I got arrested one time for, like, this stupid weed. Don't poke my child. Get out of here. I got arrested for breaking and entering into a coin-operated machine. My boyfriend had basically kicked in a vending machine so we could have food. And so I got arrested for that. A lot of runaway charges. So my parents, in their wisdom, more like wits end, they didn't really know what to do with me at that point. They sent me to go live at that place that I used to volunteer at. Now, I'm trying not to get sued. Good job, buddy. Now, I'm trying not to get sued, so I'm not going to say the name of the place. Please don't touch me. I'm not going to say, like, where it was or anything like that. Just because I don't really feel like getting sued. So anyways, they sent me to go live there, and I did. They told me that I was free to leave anytime I wanted. I know that thing's in there good, bud. It was basically a bunch of head games. I was free to leave whenever I wanted, but it was out in the middle of nowhere, so I really couldn't leave. There was no cell phones. Rim, please don't be yelling. Yes, you went and gave carrots to the rabbits. There was no cell phone, so I was not able to get a hold of the people that I was living with. Now, while I was a runaway, that's a whole other story for while I was a runaway. It is raining for the mind games that I played on people as a runaway. That's a whole nother video. But so anyways, I was there. I couldn't get a hold of me. So anyways, I was stuck. Like, they were like, you can leave anytime. But I knew I was stuck. Like, physically, I was stuck. I was trapped. I didn't have any money. I couldn't buy a bus ticket. Like, I was stuck. I can't even hardly lift my basket anymore. So then the mind games began. This is why I call it a cult. The majority of my day, not the majority of my day, a large portion of my day would be the staff members and a few volunteers sitting in a circle. Like, we would all be sitting in a circle, and like, I'd kind of be like the head, maybe it was an oval, I'd be like at the head of the circle, and everybody would be around me. Please don't mess with the phone, Aggie. And they would all tell me how I was messing up. How I was going to ruin my life, how I was too young to be on my own. I was too young to be on my own. I was inexperienced. I was, I had this wrong with me and that wrong with me and this wrong with me and that wrong with me. And it would go on for hours. I'm talking hours of just berating about how I was messing up. It was crazy how I was messing up in general, how I was messing up in life, how I was messing up at the ranch with their animals, even though I don't think I was.
Yeah, Emma.
I took excellent care of their animals. And it was like that. It was a lot of manual labor. I was not allowed to use the phone. I was not allowed to use the internet. I was not allowed any outside contact aside from what they allowed. My food was controlled. Like, everything was controlled.
Wow.
I lived like in that woman's house for a little bit, and then I lived in that separate area later. They eventually let me re-enroll in school. Now remember, I was only 14 years old. I was not in school. I was not in no homeschool. No, like, as far as the government was concerned, it's okay. As far as the government was concerned, like, I probably just didn't exist anymore. And I don't know how that happened, but again, it was the 90s. So they finally let me enroll in school because I was able to prove that I was trustworthy enough. And once again, as usual, I got into school so that I could get out of the place. I knew what I was doing. I was slowly manipulating. I knew it would take time. So I was slowly manipulating to get out, because that was my goal, was to leave that place. I didn't want to be there. So I ended up meeting a bunch of people. Of course, I met like the wrong people. Did a bunch more drugs, mostly natural things like shrooms. I liked hallucinogenics, if you can't tell. Yeah, it's getting wet. It's happy it likes the rain. A lot of hallucinogenics. I'm gonna move down. Whoa! And then I was finally at the age of 17. I was able to unenroll from school. Rem, can you please back up a little bit? I was able to unenroll from school at 17 because that's the legal age. I enrolled myself in a charter school to get my high school diploma, and I left. I literally left while people were taking a nap.
Mommy, I'm done.
What? If you go under there, you won't get wet, buddy. I had a car at the time. My parents had given me a car. I had done such a good job proving that I was going to be a good girl that they gave me a little beater car, but it was still a car. Probably like a $500 car or something. And anyways, I took that car. I had a dog. So that's what I left with. I literally had a car, a dog. I had maybe like $50, dog food, 2 pairs of clothes, and a job. And I left, and I never went back. And I cut ties with everybody I knew. My best friends were there. Literally my entire world was there. I had lived there for 2 years at that point, from the time I was 15 to the time I was 17. And I can get more into detail. I'm extremely distracted because my son's literally right behind me. As you can see, the camera's moving. And he really distracts me a lot. I try to make sure that I'm taking care of him. Watch out, buddy, you're really shaking. I try to make sure that he's taken care of, and the baby too, and so it's really distracting. But I can go into more detail about it later, but I thought I'd give you guys a little intro to that, so I guess we can call this Living in the Cult Part 1. I don't know, I was there for 2 years. I broke away. I've actually gotten back in touch with many of the people that also were there at the time, and they've all now left as well. And we're all really good friends still, like best friends even. And we didn't talk for, 10 years or so. So it's just a really interesting story. And I promise I can get... yeah, it is a tiger on my pants. You're right. Good job. Tiger. Tiger. Good job. Nice, bud. Alright, you guys, so this is going to be it. I'm trying to do like 15-minute videos, but I can tell more about the cult that I spent, I would say from the time you're 15 to the time you're 17 is a big portion of where you learn how to be an adult. And I spent my portion of that in a cult. So I can go into more detail later whenever the children aren't around. But I appreciate you listening, and hopefully it wasn't too distracting between my children and the tractor and everything. So I figure this is better than a garden tour, right? I mean, I got a basket full of carrots. I still have a few carrots to pull right there. Got a big sunflower. It's starting to rain a little bit. I got my husband out there on the tractor giving a big wave. My daughter with him giving a big wave. But I thought that'd be a good intro to living in a cult. I can definitely go into more detail later when I don't have the children with me and aren't so distracted. Because it's a really interesting topic. And I'd love to go into it without getting sued. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.